Have you ever watched your child make the same mistake 3 times, 4 times, 5 times and thought, how did you not see that coming? Maybe they left their bike outside or waited until the last minute to do a project or spent all their money the day they got it. And then the predictable thing happens and they seem genuinely surprised. As adults, that's hard to understand because we saw it coming a mile away. But after 25 years as a teacher, here's what I've learned. Many kids, especially impulsive kids and kids with ADHD, don't see what we see. Today, I want to show you why they keep repeating the same mistakes, why the advice you've probably heard, you just need to pause and think ahead, doesn't actually work for these kids, and then I'll walk you through what does. I'm going to show you a simple way to use a mistake that's already happened to build the exact skill they're missing. Early in my career, I believed consequences were doing the teaching. A kid made a bad choice, something uncomfortable happened, and I figured lesson learned. I had a student who left his bike unlocked. His parents had told him to put it away. It got stolen. I thought, well, there's a natural consequence. That's going to stick. But then he borrowed his brother's bike, and it happened again. It was stolen. Here's what I understand now. Consequences or an undesirable outcome happen after the fact. They don't often teach what we want them to teach, accountability and responsibility. What our kids need to understand is foresight. Foresight looks forward, and a lot of kids, especially impulsive ones, looking forward is a skill they haven't built yet. When you and I look at a situation, we see the choice, then tomorrow, then next week. An impulsive child sees the choice, is just in the moment. That's it. The present moment for them is incredibly loud. It drowns out everything. And there's a reason. It comes down to that prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning and impulse control. And in children, it's still developing. And in kids with ADHD or strong impulsive tendencies, it often needs more time to catch up. What that means is that a consequence or an undesirable outcome that happens tomorrow or next week or even in an hour feels as abstract to them as retirement does to a 21-year-old. It's not that they are ignoring the future. They genuinely cannot feel it yet the way we can. And in a sense, they are blind in that area. When we understand that, we know we can't just ask them, why don't you listen? Why don't you see what's coming? But we have to ask ourselves, what skill do I need to help my child with? What skill do they actually need and how do I help build it? Now, a lot of parenting advice says, teach your kids to pause and ask, what's going to happen next if I do this? Getting them to think ahead before they act. And I get why that sounds right, but here's the problem. You're asking a child to use a skill they have not yet built at the exact moment when they're least equipped to use it. They literally cannot pause. It would be like if I handed out a student a book and said, just sound it out before I taught them what the letters mean. Nobody learns to read that way. They learn to read because someone sits next to them, walks them through it again and again until the pattern sticks. Foresight is the same for many of our kids. You can't ask an impulsive kid to predict the future in the heat of the moment. But what we can do is walk them backward through a choice they've already made after it's over, when there's no pressure, no argument. The tension has dissipated. And that backward walk is actually what builds forward thinking. So here's what to do. I call it trade-off thinking. It's actually an economics term, but the idea is very simple. Every choice gives you something. Every choice costs something. Where there's a yes to something, there's a no to something else. Where there's a gain, there might be a loss. That's just how reality works for all of us, not just our kids. And here's exactly what to say. These 3 questions. What did you choose? What did you get? What did it cost? Not as an accusation, as a genuine question, like you're helping them see something they honestly couldn't see on their own. Let's walk through a couple of examples. Say your son ate a whole bag of candy after Halloween, and now his stomach hurts. You don't have to lecture, and you don't have to predict anything because it's already happened. There's nothing left to predict. Just walk him backward. Okay, what did you choose to do? I ate the candy. What did you get? It tasted really good, and I got to eat my favorite kind first. What did it cost you? My stomach hurts now and there's none left for tomorrow. The same thing with allowance. What did you choose? I spent it all on one thing. Day I got it. What did you get? The toy I wanted. What did it cost? I don't have any money for the thing I actually want later this week. Same thing with the project they put off the last minute. What did you choose? To keep playing video games instead of starting? What did you get? I had more fun for a little while. What did it cost? I'm tired now and I have to rush through this now the night before it's due and it's going to cost me my grade. Your state of mind is just calm and curious. The same 3 questions every time. You're just pointing at the structure of their choice that produced that outcome. You're simply naming the pattern that's already played out. But here's the part that you really want to catch. You're not asking them to predict anything, so there's no pressure. There's nothing to defend. It's over. That makes it easy. The stakes are really low at this point. But something else is being built every single time you ask those 3 questions. Your kid starts to see that their choice and their outcomes are connected. But it's not by lecturing, but it's by helping them see a pattern they can actually recognize. And after walking through this trade-off framework over and over, because it has to be done over and over again, this becomes a default pattern that will eventually start showing up before something happens. And it's not because we said, hey, pause and think before you act, but because they have asked those 3 questions so many times, they start to just have that in their thinking pattern. And that's the difference between telling a kid to have foresight and actually building it in them. So the next time your child makes the same mistake again, and they will, that's completely normal, let's resist that urge to ask, what were you thinking? And ask those 3 questions. What did you choose? What did you get? What did it cost? Do this enough times and things will change and your relationship will get better too. But what is going to happen is that pause that we want, the one that we've been hoping for, where they stop and think before they act or say something, they've practiced so many times. It's just how they think. So if this was helpful, subscribe. There's more. Share it with a parent that needs it, and I'll see you in the next one.